Right now, a nationwide movement makes its way all the way to Madison with a rally for Ukraine at the Capitol. Also, Concerts on the Square is getting closer. We look ahead to a summer full of performances. Plus, we're following Strikes Against Cancer. A local event raises money and awareness for gastrointestinal research. That's all coming up on News 3 Now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jalen Banks. Pro-Ukraine protests are erupting around the country as a reaction to the U.S.'s relationship with Russia since Trump took office. A rally for Ukraine rose this afternoon in downtown Madison. Our Merrill Hubbard has the story.
Friends of Ukraine organized this protest with hundreds turning out at the state capitol to speak out against the Trump administration and stand in support of Ukraine.
This is what democracy looks like.
At the protests, locals are using their voice to condemn the United States government.
I think people realize now that there's a real danger of the U.S. abandoning NATO, abandoning all of our allies.
Protests have persisted nationwide since the start of the Russia-Ukraine war. But Ann Koenig says it's her first time at a rally like this.
I came out here today because my dad was a World War II veteran.
Ann says that during World War II, her late father flew 35 missions over Germany to fight for democracy. But she says that with the way the U.S. is negotiating now,
my dad would be turning over in his grave right now that we're supporting Russia and Putin. I mean, I'm almost grateful he's not here right now to see this.
A lot of people were just mortified and horrified by the display in the Oval Office on Friday.
The protest comes 2 days after scenes from the Oval Office showing Vice President Vance and President Trump clashing with Ukrainian President Zelensky.
You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
I'm not
cards.
playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
You're
playing cards.
Mr. President.
You're playing cards.
Serious.
You're gambling with the lives of
war.
millions of people.
You're
gambling with World War III.
While many Republican leaders have praised President Trump for this confrontation, pro-Ukraine protesters in Wisconsin say otherwise.
I think that was a big wake-up call, not just for American citizens, but for Europe and even for Canada and everyone who wants to stand with Ukraine and against fascism and Putin.
It's just really important to stand for what I believe in.
Ann says she wants to fight for democracy just as her dad did during World War II.
His 35 missions over Germany meant something. And I will stand with Ukraine, and I will stand with our allies. And that's what my dad would have been doing.
Reporting in Madison, Merrill Hubbard, News 3 Now.
Merrill, thank you. Let's get a look at your certified most accurate forecast with meteorologist Blaze Keller. Blaze, what should we expect as we head into the work week?
We're looking at a big system. Still looking at Tuesday and Wednesday for alert days as that system is going to bring us heavy rain, breezy conditions, turning windy as we go into Wednesday. And then as we go throughout Wednesday, that rain turns over to a mix and then eventually to snow. In the meantime, we are going to be quiet tonight. We're in the upper 20s to low 30s right now, a little bit warmer off towards Prairie du Chien. We're at 35, 30 in Lone Rock as well as in the Dells, 31 Camp Douglas as well as in Madison, 28 for those of us in Janesville, 32 in Verona. We're hanging right around 31 across pretty much all of Dane County. A few of us a little bit warmer. A few of us a little bit cooler. We're in the 20s tonight underneath partly cloudy conditions. We're going to hold off on the rain chances, and they're going to be light until Monday. But the real rain, as you're seeing here, arrives as we go into your Tuesday and then further into Wednesday. We're going to talk more about this system, talk about what is working for us and against us in terms of snow and rain and all that coming up here in just a few minutes.
All right, sounds good, Blaze. We'll see you in just a bit. And you can stay up to date on the weather on our First One Forecast weather app. It is our only forecast, road conditions, and the latest radar. You can download it for free in your phone's app store. Just search WISC Weather. A 75-year-old woman is critically injured following a crash at a parking lot in Stoughton Sunday morning. Stoughton police say a 75-year-old man was backing out his vehicle at 1399 USH 51 near the building when he accidentally accelerated and struck the woman that was trying to direct the man when he was backing out. The woman was pinned between the building and vehicle and was flown to a local hospital. The crash is currently under investigation. People took to the lanes to raise money for gastrointestinal research at the 24th annual Bowlin' for Colons event held at 10 Penn Alley in Fitchburg. The event brought people together for a day of fun on the lanes while fighting against cancer.
The awareness of this event and the opportunity to engage with others within this community is really important. You know, when we think about the amount of science, the amount of industry, the organizations that you know, really live and thrive in Madison, we think that there's a lot of them that are invested in cancer research, specifically GI cancer research.
According to the American Cancer Society, there were about 30,000 new cases of stomach cancer so far this year. A local business is kicking off International Women's Month with a milestone. Storybook Ballet at Hilldale is celebrating its 25th anniversary. Its owner, Meredith Mast, has been a professional dancer since she was just 17 years old, and she hopes to continue to pass on lessons for generations to come.
We have the unique component of bringing in ballet stories and fairy tales into our classes as well. So there's a lot of imagination, a lot of creativity, a lot of just the heart of ballet, storytelling, not just the physical part, but the drama and the storytelling and pantomime and costumes.
The studio's themes revolves around fairy tale books, some of which Meredith has written herself. And the warmer months are right around the corner, which means it's almost time for Concerts on the Square season. The Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra on Sunday announced the lineup for its 42nd season of Concerts on the Square, which will run on Wednesdays from June 25th to July 30th.
And this is truly a community event. It's a free event, but supported and funded by our community, by our local community, by our food vendors. So we are planning for 10 months on putting this event together.
The free concerts will be back at the King Street corner of Capitol Square. Blankets can be set out starting at 3 p.m. The street will be closed to traffic beginning at 5 p.m. and performances will begin at 7. And this season's kicks off with Dancing on the Street on June 25th. Las Vegas-based group Radiance will join the orchestra to showcase the hits of Motown's legends, including Vandellas, The Supremes, and Aretha Franklin.
But it's really music that will just enhance everybody's experience. You can say, is it a picnic with music, or is it a concert with a picnic?
And as somebody who's been to quite a few of them, I will attest that it's both. The concert will also include the performance of an original work by local composer Autumn Maria Reed. To see the full lineup, just head on over to our website at channel3000.com. Next on News 3 Now at 10, Blaze Keller returns with a complete look of your First Warn forecast. Plus, the latest polls on President Trump, what Americans have to say about immigration, inflation, and foreign affairs. Plus, we take a look at a current standing on the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Thank you for staying with us. Tonight, new polling from CBS News finds most Americans support Ukraine in its war with Russia at 52%. 44% say they support neither country. And CBS's Willie James Inman is in West Palm Beach, Florida, with details on where the Trump administration stands.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the economic deal that President Trump wanted President Zelensky to sign is no longer on the table.
What's the use in having an economic agreement that's going to be rendered moot if he wants the fighting to continue?
It is absolutely shameful what is happening right now. The White House has become an arm of the Kremlin.
But according to a new poll released by CBS News, the economy and inflation are the top priorities Americans want President Trump to focus on right now. 51% approve of the president's handling of the economy, but 54% disapprove of his job on inflation. On immigration, 54% give the president a thumbs up. This week, the White House is expected to impose punishing tariffs of up to 25% on Canada and Mexico, and up to 20% on China. Economists warned tariffs could raise prices for Americans and slow economic growth, something the White House disputes. Canada and Mexico say they will retaliate with tariffs of their own.
We will have a strong, unequivocal, and proportional response as Canadians expect.
In the wake of the White House push to fire thousands of government workers, protests this weekend at national parks. Demonstrators upset about the job cuts.
So I think one of the first impacts that we'll see this summer to national parks is a degraded visitor experience where the services maybe are not available that people expect.
President Trump will have a prime time opportunity to speak directly to the American people about his agenda during a joint session of Congress on Tuesday. Willie James Inman, CBS News, West Palm Beach, Florida.
Willie James, thank you. A new study finds screen time has stayed steady since 2020, but they changed how they spend it. The survey was conducted by Common Sense Media, a nonprofit group that tracks media and technology and their impact on kids. It says by 2 years old, most kids spend about 2.5 hours a day with screens, and kids between the ages of 5 and 8 spend about 3.5 hours a day with technology. But as traditional TV viewing declines, kids are spending more time gaming and watching short videos on platforms such as TikTok. They spend an average of 14 minutes a day watching short videos. That's up from 1 minute in 2020. And the time they spend playing online games has jumped 65% since 2020. And Elon Musk says Verizon's efforts to provide a critically needed upgrade to the FAA's air traffic control system is failing. And it's important that Starlink take over. Starlink is a unit of SpaceX, Musk's satellite and rocket company. Verizon has a $2.4 billion contract to provide a long-sought upgrade to the FAA's communication system. It's known as the FAA Enterprise Network Services, or FENS program. Asked about Musk's statement, the FAA issued a statement saying, regarding to the FENS program, no decisions have been made. This week, the agency confirmed it is testing 3 Starlink terminals. Verizon did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Facebook allows gender bias for job seekers, according to a European human rights body. The Netherlands Institute for Human Rights determined the platform's algorithm reinforced male and female stereotypes regarding the positions it shows to users. Officials say women in the Netherlands were more likely to get, quote, typically female professions, potentially preventing them from being aware of other employment opportunities. They say Facebook's owner, Meta, should have made adjustments to prevent that sort of discrimination. Meta has not issued a comment on the matter. Tonight, new uncertainty in the Middle East. Israel suddenly blocked the entry of all goods and humanitarian assistance into Gaza as the ceasefire with Hamas falters. CBS's Deborah Pata is in East Jerusalem.
Ramadan in the rubble and ruins of Gaza, as Palestinians sit down to break the first day of the fast. But for Fadwa Salua, a mother of 3 who is still living in a makeshift tent, this was not how she imagined spending the Muslim holy month. My husband is dead and my home is destroyed, she told us. There is no joy in our hearts. The meal she's preparing was her husband's favorite. The pain still fresh. The bombs may have stopped falling, but Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is piling on the pressure by withdrawing all aid from Gaza. Hamas says this is nothing short of blackmail. Hostage families have been plunged back into the uncertainty of the nearly 15 months of war in Gaza, waiting for loved ones to come home. Together with thousands of supporters, they took to the streets to exert pressure of their own and demand a deal.
We're just caught in a loop because the Prime Minister has other issues he needs to solve, and we're caught into that. And citizens caught into that, and citizens are dying due to that.
In Gaza, the future is also once again in limbo as Palestinians struggle to pick up the pieces of lives shattered by a war nobody wants to go back to. Deborah Patter, CBS News, East Jerusalem.
Now let's get a look at your first one forecast with meteorologist Blaze Keller. Blaze, what should we expect?
We're getting ready for our next big system set to arrive Tuesday into Wednesday. This is one that we've been telling you about for at least a week now. It began to show up on our weather models consistently, and that's the key word there, and hasn't left. And now we're getting ready for it to move on in starting really Tuesday, lasting through early Thursday. we may squeeze out a few rain showers as we go into the morning hours on Monday as clouds continue to teeter between mostly cloudy to partly sunny. These clouds will continue to push off towards the northeast as we go throughout the day. Not everyone is going to see those rain showers on Monday. We do get a break as we go into the mid to late afternoon hours. Notice our wind arrows are out of the south, so we're still moving up that moisture and that warmth as we go into your Tuesday. So we're going to have the moisture for the heavy rain. Winds are really going to pick up as we go into Wednesday. Some of those northwesterly winds could gust up to about 45 to 50 miles per hour as we cool ourselves down to possibly bring back some snow later Wednesday into Thursday. So we're having a warm air mass overhead Tuesday and then a cooler, drier one for your Thursday, which is why we have to get these winds moving, why they're going to be breezy, especially Wednesday. The European and the GFS models, we look ahead to 9 a.m., painting a very similar picture, just the GFS is beginning to exit this system a little bit sooner than the European model, which is why we could stay warmer for longer if we buy into what the European model is saying. I think we're probably going to lean warmer than cooler, just based on the fact that we don't really have any snow on the ground, and we've got these southerly winds with us throughout the day on Tuesday. They are eventually going to turn off of Lake Michigan as we go further Tuesday night into Wednesday, but notice that we don't see that changeover until the late morning hours on Wednesday. And even then, the snow might not necessarily be hitting the ground because we've got to cool the atmosphere down enough to get that snow from the clouds to the ground. So even after that changeover, it's going to take some time for that snow to accumulate. And because temperatures are going to cool off, but not quickly, we're going to be still above freezing for a little bit of time before going overnight into Thursday. And this is going to be a wet, heavy snow because our temperatures don't drop into those teens or into the single digits behind this. So there's a lot of moisture for that snow to kind of play with there. 1 inch to 2 inches of rain is going to be possible. So minor flooding and ponding is likely going to happen because the ground is still frozen. So if you've got any drains around the house, you may want to make sure that they're clear so that the water can drain out and not cause you any problems. In terms of snow, the GFS, this 4 to 6, is picking up on a possible system on Friday, but the GFS keeps us anywhere between 1 to 2 inches. The European model, not as much because we don't cool off sooner. So we'll just have to see which one plays out, but I think it's a safe bet to say anywhere between ½ an inch to maybe 1 inch of snow, at best 2 inches for some of us, especially further north and west. The further north and west you go or live, the better chance you're going to have of dealing with that snow for longer. So in the meantime, mid-40s to low 50s tomorrow. Tomorrow's a good time to clear out the drains, to get the sub pumps ready if your basement sometimes floods, because again, this is going to be 1 to 2 inches of rain essentially falling all of Tuesday into Tuesday night. That rain-snow mix wraps up on Wednesday. We dry out Thursday, and then as I mentioned before, possibly another round of a wintry mix Friday. GFS is painting a much more snowy event than the European model. The GFS for folks at home has a stronger system. The European model does not. So we'll be tracking that. As soon as this system Tuesday and Wednesday moves out of here, that's kind of our focus right now. 60s by that following week.
So we just got to get through the next few days and then
get through the next
paradise.
week. Yeah. It's just that time of year where these big systems are going to be moving through the Midwest, through the United States. They're going to be bringing warmth, cold, a whole mess of things. So thank you for bearing with us. We'll keep you guys updated as we get the latest data.
You talk about being in the Midwest. So I went to school at Eastern Illinois University, played college football. Spring ball takes place in March. Okay. There was one time it was like 70 degrees, like early in the day. By the time we hit practice, full-blown like snowstorm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. It's just that time of year.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Blaze. Coming up in sports, Wisconsin men's basketball travels to Michigan State for the biggest game of the year.
Selection Sunday is exactly 2 weeks away, and the seed that Wisconsin men's basketball draws in the big dance could depend on the outcome of this afternoon's game at Michigan State. The good news is the Badgers have won 3 straight in East Lansing, but you know it's always going to be a dogfight to get the job done. John Blackwell, a Michigan native, he excels in these kind of games, puts the Badgers up 2 late in the first. He finished with a team-best 19. The Spartans separated in the second half, growing an 8-point lead with less than 10 minutes to play, but the Badgers didn't go away. Nolan Winter finishes off a 7 7-0 Wisconsin run, knocking down the triple to make it a 1-point game, but that is as close as the margin would get. The Badgers scored just 1 basket in the final 4 minutes of the contest and finished 5 for 32 from three-point land, a recipe that won't win you many games, but despite that, Bucky kept it close throughout.
A lot for us to learn from. We go 5 for 32 from 3. I thought we had some really good looks, some open looks from the right guys. Some of that's Michigan State's defense. They have defended well for the vast majority of the year. So, but even with 5 for 32, I thought we were in position. It's a good college basketball game. I wish we could have played better the last 6-7 minutes.
And the Wisconsin women trying to end their regular season on a high note down in Iowa City. And in the first half, it looked like that was a real possibility. It was close through the first few quarters, and then just before half, Tess Myers beats the buzzer. It is good, and Wisconsin ties it up before the break. But in the second half, it was all Hawkeyes, including a name that should sound familiar, Taylor Stremlow, a Verona native, with the Iowa bucket. The Badgers fall in their finale 81-66, but they're not done. They'll play Iowa again in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. Somehow, Wisconsin men's hockey got the final weekend of the regular season off. To fill the time and prepare for next weekend's Big Ten tournament, they hosted USA Hockey's under-18 team tonight. No, not the Olympic team, just the best hockey players in the country that aren't old enough to vote. But the Badgers found out quickly they're certainly old enough to play hockey. By the middle of the second period, Team USA had built a 6-1 lead. The Badgers would stage a furious comeback, scoring with 20 seconds left to make it a 6-5 game, but the score would stay there. The Young Guns win a stunner, 6-5 the final, and we'll be right
behind the scenes. Those of you at home, you just see us, but there's a lot of people that put in a lot of work behind the scenes. Joe Blake, who was one of our directors, he's not leaving News 3, but he's switching shifts in this last weekend show. So I just wanted to thank Joe for all the work that he's put in on the weekends.
He's a great kid.
He is. Thank you, Joe. We will miss you on this weekend crew.
We're gonna miss
Blaze, before we head on out.
We're gonna miss you, Joe. 40s to I don't know how to segue. 40s tomorrow with some light rain. I mean, he's not leaving, as you said, Jalen. We'll still see him around, but we're gonna miss him on the weekend. That rain-snow mix mess starting Tuesday wraps up early Thursday morning.